Welcome to our space where talking about the inspiring things with inspiring people is what inspires us. Waiting for you here are the infinite possibilities that creation, collaboration, and connection have to offer. A universe where we see everything through rose-tinted spectacles that help us to keep our faith in the power of imagination alive and well. And now, let's talk. Born in the Amazon, award-winning performer, writer, director, and theater maker, Gaël Le Cornec is our guest today. She developed a work of theater that is mainly based in themes related with genre, identity, stereotypes, and displacement. She speaks 4 languages, and she has been on stage Frida Kahlo, Camille, Claudel, and more recently for an online production, even Mendieta. But she has also been every on her women immigrant. She also runs her own theater company, One Food Productions, and I'm very, very pleased to welcome Gaël Le Cornec to Metralla Rosa. Thank you.
I'm really impressed. No. I haven't learned my own biog.
I'll do it. I'll do it for you. I'm really happy because I know you are juggling at the moment 4 different projects. Yeah. I know you just finished performing a very interesting show, and let's start for the not for the beginning, but for the last thing you have done, which is this play.
Site-specific promenade,
Exactly. It was very interesting and very COVID-friendly.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors. That was the name of the
play. Perfect, yeah.
So tell me about that project and tell me about the experience, because that's after a year without theater.
Gosh, yeah.
We are super excited. Everyone was, I read the comments, and everyone was super happy to have a little bit of space for dreaming, to dream again.
Exactly. Like the audience was very warm towards this promenade performance, because I guess, audience was like, oh, finally something is happening live after so many online productions and audio stories only. And then, basically how it happened was that I was invited by 27 Degrees company. So they do lots of immersive experiences, and they needed 4 actors. And one of the characters was a Latin American woman, quite posh, living in Shoreditch.
Eva
Garcia.
Yeah, Eva Garcia.
And I love this name. Yes, I want to do that. Eva Garcia. So I was playing her, and basically I self-taped, auditioned
was she posh?
For them.
That's not the classical stereotype.
Exactly. That's why I loved it. They really were trying to change stereotypes on all the characters were migrants, but
amazing.
They really were playing with this idea of changing the stereotypes, what you think a Latin American person is, And it was a great experience. So the audience would walk on the streets and see 4 different windows with those 4 different characters in it, in their own space. So I was in a kitchen. I was the perfect wife, mother, with the cutest dog.
With makeup done?
Makeup done, but hiding another side of hectic, with newborn baby, and really trying, a bit nervous and trying to do everything perfectly and going a bit mental.
Okay. and how was the experience with the audience? Were they there? Were they using their phones? I couldn't understand really the description of the play. Could you tell us?
Yes, sure. So it was an audio story and an immersive experience simultaneously. Okay. So people would turn up at, let's say, different times. So there was 8 o'clock, 8:05, etc., up to 10 p.m. So turn up in bubbles, and then they would have their phones. Okay. They use a headphone, and they had an app for the project, and they'll press the app, choose journey that they wanted to follow.
Oh, right.
So there were different themes like madness, music, sensuality. Fun. Yeah, you know that.
I know that because you said please don't go to that one because you're not going to see me.
And people chose that, and they would, when they arrived, you would send them to a specific window on a street with a number 21.
Such a good idea.
It's so intelligent. Yeah, it's really, really well done. And then they'll press play, hear the voice of a neighbor talking about the character in front of them.
Okay.
So it was always the perspective of others. Which I thought was so interesting. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So lucky of you to have been there.
Yes, it felt like a historical moment. Post-pandemic, first show out, I'm in.
That's amazing. And also you were playing a Latin American instead of a Brazilian in this opportunity, which is also something lovely that happens with you. I actually feel very weird when I have to talk with a Brazilian in English, because I feel like there should be a language in between Spanish and Portuguese to connect. It's really weird to talk in a language which is so far away when I normally listen to Portuguese and I understand 90% of what they say. So it's but
we could have done this in Spanish.
In Spanish and Portuguese. It would
have
been perfect.
Next time.
Perfect. I had to do a work ages ago, sorry for this self-reference, in Brazil. And because I was off camera, I was interviewing people in Spanish and they were answering in Portuguese. And it was just perfect. I did a lot of interviews like that. And it was just perfect. So next time, let's do that. Yeah. But you have explored the theme of stereotypes in many, many occasions. Yeah. Obviously, it's something that interests you. What would you say is, for all of us, Latin Americans or South Americans, in this country, a common stereotype that you don't feel quite comfortable with?
It's just, I guess we start not feeling comfortable with something if there is a pattern or a repetition. And you are constantly like put into that box. This is what you can do. This is what you play. You know, as an artist or as an actor, especially. So a lot of the times it was, when I started my career, it was sexual workers, prostitutes, cleaner is a typical. And actually, there are people who do, of course, all these works and it is valid stories to tell, I think, also. But then when, if you are Brazilian, this is what you can play and that's it. When you're reduced to that, then it becomes a problem. And that's,
And also, if there are some aspects of the idiosyncratic aspects that are also a weight on your shoulders. For example, being not being joyful, but not very analytical, for example, or being always happy, or not being able to have some depth, which it's unfair, because we all have different stories, like people here as well. So it's never fair to be put in a box.
Absolutely. But it's interesting because I think sometimes we always see stereotypes as this very negative thing, which because it has an impact on us, especially when we are stereotypes. But also I try sometimes to see it. I think stereotypes exist also for the other person who is stereotyping you, to try to understand who you are sometimes. And it's our duty to kind of challenge that.
Yes. And without resentment also.
I think so, yes,
because
absolutely.
Coming from this understanding that we all need to name what we don't understand and what we don't know well. So it's also natural. I also understand that it's also natural to believe that certain nationalities, you never have been there, you don't know that world, you don't know that ecosystem, and then you have an idea, and your idea of course is limited because your experience regarding that idea is also limited. And in that sense you have done an amazing work. But I'm especially interested in, you came to this country from Brazil. And you are from north of Brazil. Brazil is a continent. I mean, that's not a country. It's very unfair to try to classify
it's a big chunk of South America
in one way, because it isn't fair. So tell me about that part of Brazil where you come from.
So I was born in the Amazon in a city called Belém do Pará, which is in the state of Pará.
Is that Belém?
Belém.
I went to Belém.
You went to Belém.
Yes.
Amazing. I don't know many people who've been there, so that's really nice.
I loved it. I had the opportunity to travel Brazil with something that I don't know if it exists yet, but it was a ticket that you could take and
a pass. Okay.
like an Euro pass.
But by plane.
But by plane.
Okay, cool.
And I went to Brazil because my mom was invited to assist in a feminist congreso, un congreso feminista, a feminist...
A round table or a conference? Okay.
A big event with feminists from all over the world. Wow. And then we stayed and we did this huge travel. It's one of the experiences
so you went with your mom?
Treasure more, with my mom and my sister.
Oh, wow.
My mom was the only one that took her 2 daughters, and my sister, I was like 14. For me, it was an amazing experience in every way. So you can imagine how much I love Brazil. I just think it's an amazing, amazing country. And yes, I went to Belém.
So you went to Belém. Yeah. How old were you?
14.
Okay.
14.
So you remember.
Yeah, I do remember.
So I was born in Belém. My mom is from Belém and my dad is French. And when I was a teenager, they moved across the Amazon River to a tiny city. Well, it's a town. It's still, I guess for Brazil, it's small, but it's still quite big for European standards. Macapá.
Okay.
So on the other side of the Amazon River. Because it became very violent, as many cities in the Amazon. There's quite it's difficult relationship, I think, that exists between people there in those cities. So they moved to a smaller city because I was becoming a teenager, so I could grow up a bit more freely,
more secure.
Yeah, because they used to literally pick me up at the school and go back home, in a car, and then Macapá I could just walk the streets by myself, and it was fine. But it was when I say I'm from the Amazon and people think, oh, you are where? They think it's
from
the forest,
jungle.
From the jungle. Yes, and yes, I did spend a lot of my childhood going to the Amazon forest because my parents had this beautiful land, an hour away from 2.5 hours away from the city, where we would go, and there was this beautiful little river stream. No, they sold it. They have another one now. Okay. On the other side of the river.
Great.
But it's so I every weekend would go there. So there is this connection indeed with the nature. With nature, yeah.
Is the people from this area of Brazil reserved, or are they joyful? Are they extroverts? How would you describe a little bit your experience when you were there in that?
It's hard because again, it's hard to describe everybody in a way. But in terms of heritage, a lot of people from the Amazon have indigenous heritage, of course.
Today
Black,
is
indigenous,
actually
and
the
white.
day of the...
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, 19. Is it 19 today?
No, today is 20. Yeah. You are right. It was yesterday.
Calendar.
Yes. We are recording this on 20th of
20.
April.
But, time is like relative, so it's fine.
especially on the web. Yeah. So you will see this maybe in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Still, the idea is to make documents that can still be evergreen somehow.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm interested because we have the tendency of make a uniform of what Brazil maybe means for all of us, and maybe in this area, because of the indigenous strong presence, I tend to think that maybe people is a little bit more reserved than in other places of Brazil.
I think you're right. Yes, I don't know if it's also your childhood memories from that region.
No, but I think in general, all Andean country in South America that have a strong indigenous presence or heritage, not like the Caribbean. I come from the Caribbean, a Caribbean country, so it's all about party and beach and daiquiri. But,
not so much.
But in these areas, the music, the temperament, the way people face life is more is slower and more reflexive.
Oh gosh, yeah, it is slower. Yeah, it is. I guess that's why I left.
That's the reason. Did you feel trapped?
Not
Why-
trapped, but I
how
always
old
had
were
this
you?
European connection to my dad. My dad is still with my mom in the Amazon. They live together there. But they were very keen for me to go and see the world because, there's no way to do what I do in Brazil anyways would be much more difficult, right? I don't know if I would make a living of it. And here
Probably
I'm
not.
quite lucky in a sense of being
Or
able
maybe-
to survive as an artist.
I don't know. It's
Who
hard
knows?
to tell.
Yes, it's hard to tell. But in North Brazil, there isn't this industry. So I would have to have left at some point, probably, if I really decided at the time that's what I wanted to do.
But how old were you when you arrived here? This is important because I think when you arrived, you couldn't. You
I didn't speak
couldn't
English at all. Not, I spoke like
we also
3
share
words.
that. Yeah.
So basically, I left Belém to go to São Paulo to do university in São Paulo. Biology. Oh my god, you know my life better than me. I'm so impressed. Oh my god. This is amazing.
It's all there.
Thanks for reminding me what I've done.
Sorry.
Just exposed my life on the
talking
web.
It's my work. They call it research.
You're an investigator.
Yes,
It's
but
nice.
why biology?
Because I was from the Amazon and I felt a duty to somehow do something that would be useful to when I went back home. So I didn't know what I want to do. It's hard to choose when you are like 16, 17. Oh, you have to choose now what you're going to do for the rest of your life. It's ridiculous
I can see
in
it
a way.
My daughter,
right?
yeah. It wasn't difficult for me. It is different for everyone.
Right.
But I completely
For me,
understand.
I was doing theatre already at the time. However, I had this thing that I felt that theatre wasn't something that could be done professionally. It was just a hobby because that's how it was in the Amazon. It was a hobby for people. And so I decided to just go and do something else. So I did biology because it felt useful, and it is something useful, of course, to do, and environmental studies. So went to São Paulo, graduated in 4 years, came to England to study English, to learn the language, so I could do a post-graduation.
Wow.
Then I fell into a Learn English Through Theatre course at Hammersmith and City College, I remember.
Okay.
And then,
You fell in love.
I fell in love, that's it.
So your plan wasn't to stay here.
No, not at all. It was to come for 6 months, a year.
How do you feel in that sense? Do you feel that you have betrayed your original idea?
No. It just happened in a way.
So somehow theater started growing on you as an idea of professional option
Here.
and English as well at the same time.
Yes.
So that makes these two things very strongly connected in you.
Indeed. And that's why I think I write in English as a playwright. I've never written a play in Portuguese.
Never?
Never. I really should.
Do you write in Portuguese?
I do. Yes, I do. I write
what
poetry.
Okay.
I did write short stories a while ago. But plays and like films, they all come in English.
Amazing. Amazing because you know what's hard? To do something in a language, get so used to know this language and do this thing in this language and then have to do it in another one.
Yeah.
That really plays out with your mind. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But if you grow organically this way, it makes completely sense and makes you feel that English belongs to you in that way. It's your theater language. It's your way to express your creativity or this facet of you, this phase of you, which is amazing. And which one was your first play? This I don't know.
You know why you don't know? Because I don't know. Because otherwise you would know. I would have written it somewhere.
Okay. I know you had a huge success with Frida. And you made an amazing Frida. I haven't seen it, but the photos, I can tell that was amazing. and also because all that happened, all the reviews you got. But which one was the first you sit down and said?
Okay, so I started as I was wanting to be a director.
Okay, only
writer-director. And I did this course with Stone Crabs Theatre Company, lovely company in Deptford, who had this 1 year long course for people who from minority ethnics who had never done theatre, and it was like professionalizing, teaching you the basics.
Okay.
So I did that course for a year, and then I started just acting for everybody else, for all the other directors in the course. Every time they needed an actor, we're like, okay, someone go there and play this character, and no one would go. And okay, I'll go. And this is how it kind of started. I trained as a director, and then I still direct. But that's how, I started developing as an actor, and then realized, oh, actually, I can do this. And doing workshops, and people say, you can really do this. I say, okay, I can do this. Okay. And then I did it.
And you started working professionally and having
exactly.
Okay. And directing yourself, how difficult is that? Because how self-conscious you are of making, maybe I'm not pushing myself enough. Maybe because when you react from another person, you never expect what they if they push you to directions you don't expect, you're not ready, but you do it. But when you have to direct yourself, I guess it's very hard. Maybe self-doubt plays a part.
Not really. I don't know. I feel my mind is so busy trying to tell the story and trying to find the form that I don't have time for self-doubt when I'm in rehearsals. And this is something because I teach a lot as well. I'm teaching at master's levels now at Rose Bruford. She's a great drama school here. And I teach at East 15 as well. And I always tell my students to eliminate. That's the thing you want to get rid of, is self-doubt. Because it's not useful in any way. It's just your personal issue coming out.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with the art, with the work.
And with the story. Yeah.
The story is the most important thing. So that's what you should focus on.
That's why you are good. That's amazing. Yeah, that's a very amazing answer, because it has to be everything about the storytelling.
Absolutely,
telling the story is your thing. Don't worry about anything else.
Exactly. It's almost like it's coming through. You are a vector. Your body is an instrument. Your voice is an instrument. The story is more important.
So when Frida came, you were in that play that you had a lot of very good reviews and success, and you did an amazing character. When that came to your life, you were just acting? You were doing a little bit of everything like you have always done?
To Frida, I was acting already. I was acting professionally in quite a few plays. And then I did a short... I had done a solo before Frida.
It was in English.
It was in English.
It was in English.
A little bit of Spanish here and there.
Here and there. Why do you speak Spanish?
Because I worked for CASA, that's an American theatre festival. Okay. For quite a few years as a programmer and curator.
Did you learn like that?
I did.
That's hard.
No, but I speak Portuguese. It's true. As you know, we understand, right?
Yeah.
And I went to Mexico for a bit. When I got the role of Frida, I said, I'm gonna go to Mexico. I want to learn everything about her. So I stayed there for a couple of months. And then with CASA, I also traveled through South America to festivals, international festivals, watching plays to bring them to the UK. So I went to Chile, I went to Colombia.
Wow.
So my Spanish just got better.
Definitely. And I know Frida, it's a very well-known character. I know we all think we know her. I know we all feel like it belongs to all of us, especially us women, and especially us women from South America that are interested in the arts. But what did you learn through that immersion that you had in that, trying to know that character as better as possible, that for you was a revelation, something you didn't know about her?
Very good question. So the image that I feel the majority of people have of Frida is that she was a woman who would be a woman who was quite strong, but had this that had a lot of pain, right? And that she would paint this pain, and because we see those paintings of her with her like crying, those self-portraits, crying and in pain, and sometimes hurting herself physically in blood and all that, then people think that she was someone who's always sad, and
very intense
and sad. And I think she was intense, and there were moments of sadness for sure. But what I discovered researching about her, especially reading all the biographies that existed about Frida, was that she was the opposite of that. She was warm. She was full of friends. She was someone who told jokes. She would laugh with carcajadas. How do you say carcajadas? Exactly. She was full of life. She was.
But that makes sense.
Death. She was life, because her paintings.
Could you have overcome all that if it weren't because of that spirit? Obviously, I mean,
yeah,
it's not
exactly.
obvious for everyone,
it's the opposite,
but that makes
right?
sense.
Yeah, and painting for her was a way of healing. So that's why you see all that intensity in the paintings, and death, the presence of death, because she knew her body was broken. She knew she was going to go
at some point.
Yeah. Probably earlier than most people. And yeah, but it's an incredible character.
Did you put that warm?
Absolutely.
I would say that
yes.
She was even tender. Sometimes I have her voice.
Yes.
She was even sweet and tender, like a very beautiful, fragile. Sometimes not fragile. She was very strong, but she could act in a way that could be like. Someone you want to hug.
Especially when she was with Diego, I think.
Yes,
I think she would play that.
Maybe yes, because
that little girl kind of.
This documentary film I saw.
Yeah.
She was with him. Actually.
Yeah. And her early life, I think she was more like that, more like a little girl. She really grew into becoming a very strong woman, and her voice became quite. Deeper as she got old, because she used to smoke a lot.
Do you grow along the character, or do you play a specific period?
I play a specific moment of her life. So it's the Day of the Dead in Mexico, and she feels that death is coming, so it's sort of the end of her life, but I go back in time. It's more of an emotional journey. Then this beautiful play by Humberto Robles, a Mexican writer. It's an emotional journey of Frida, more than like a narrative that follows the events. So it goes back on time, but she's on the Day of the Dead in Mexico, waiting for death to arrive. But it's full of life. It's called Viva la Vida.
Okay.
And it's all about the life, and about her laughing and waiting for Diego as well to come back, to see how he never comes. It's really beautiful.
I know this is a very weird or maybe silly question, but did you feel her presence or energy at any point of the... I mean, because it can also be your own mind just making
I did.
You did?
Yes. Yes. So many times I feel totally like empowered to play this character. It really feels that I was born to play that character. It's just such a weird thing.
It's good to feel that she was blessing you.
Yeah.
That she was giving you her bless. Okay.
And I'm so grateful for the director who proposed to me to do this 12 years ago, the first time I did it. And then we revived last year at the Vote.
Oh, really?
And he...
I hope you do it again.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be online soon. I will send you the details, because we recorded it. So we are cleaning it to be able to share it in a couple of months online. So
wow, that's going to be a joy.
Theater recorded. It's not recorded in a way.
Well, it's still a window that you can open to enjoy the beautiful work you I'm sure you did, because all the reviews were very moving, very touching. And after Frida came Camille Claudel. Yeah. Was it after Frida?
It was a few years after, 2012.
So you did you felt like, okay, it's interesting to bring to life historical characters, women that maybe needs to be known for what they really were.
Yeah.
And this is a way to tell the story of any women at the end of the day.
Yeah. So that's something that I really like to do. I'm very interested in
to keep
doing that and retelling the stories of those women through their own words, through their perspectives. So with Camille Claudel, she's quite well known in France, of course.
Even in South America.
Latin America, she's quite known.
Yeah, I saw the movie.
Yes, there are like 2 or 3 now. You saw the one with Isabella Giannini.
Yes.
Right? Amazing.
Yes. Beautiful.
I saw
movie.
that when I was a kid.
I saw that one at the cinema.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, it wasn't. I don't know if it was new, because I saw it in one of these theaters that they sometimes show old movies.
Right.
So I can't remember, but I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a beautiful film. I was a kid when I watched it, and I remember it till now. And I realized there was no play in English about Camille Claudel, and she was not so well known in England.
Yeah.
Rodin, yes, but Camille, no. And I'm like, oh, hold on a second.
Who's this
And I just wanted to basically tell her story so people get to know her. So I wrote the first play in English about Camille Claudel. And this play has been translated in 3 languages. And it's being played in Mexico by another actress, Yurira Fanjul. It got nominated for Best Monologue there. And next year, I'm bringing it back. I can't say the theatre yet, but I'm doing it again.
Because if what you wanted was to spread the importance of a figure that wasn't in the shadow of a man, you are being successful in that sense, in that regard. Obviously, it's being translated, it's being played in other countries. So that's really incredibly good.
And I never thought when I wrote the play, because I did it on like a very small budget. I wrote the play, took it to Edinburgh, played her myself, did everything. I had friends helping, and I never thought I would get the return, somehow, of people wanting to buy the play and wanting to translate it after I've done it. So it's a nice thing when you do something with passion, you get it back.
And it's amazing because you did biology and then social studies, but you never did. Never had the opportunity to do drama in a school, let's say.
No.
But you have done drama all your professional life as a professional, and now you teach. So, what's more important for you when you teach? What's the real thing you would like to inspire? Not only with your example, but trying to make a theory out of an idea. What's this idea in your head about what should be theater? What theater should be about?
It should be about anything that you have a passion for, and theater should be alive, and that's something that's very important in the live experience of being in a room with people. It's a shared experience, and it's alive.
It's alive. An alive experience.
Alive experience.
Exactly.
Because when I say alive, I also mean because there's so much theatre out there that I feel is a bit dead in a way that is just about people saying words, or like actors just saying words, or it's a little bit like this, it's a bit like one level, flat.
Yeah.
And then when I say it's alive, you have to bring the passion, bring the life that exists in all your human body and
that's
skin
never only the words. That's an energetic commitment.
Absolutely.
You need to bring all your energy and find that energy. It's not easy, but that's the
job.
That's the job.
Of the actor. Yeah.
And also, I guess, because you have created your own way to express theater, to create theater, probably also out of rejection many times.
Oh gosh.
So for you, I guess it's also important to tell your students, do it anyway. Do it your way. Create your language. Create your everything can be done at the end of the day if you do it properly and with passion, as you were saying.
Absolutely. And we've been doing this storytelling thing since the beginning of times. You know, the first storyteller is our mothers, speaking to us, singing to us, right? And oh, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, that was lovely. I had a vision of my daughter crying every time I was singing a song to make her sleep. She was always crying. Didn't know why, but she was feeling sad every time. It was super
It was a
funny.
moving song.
It was funny. Yeah, it was a moving song probably for her.
Yeah,
because
for her, yeah.
it wasn't for me. But yeah, you are
so
right.
it's part of everybody's life in a way. So we know it. Mothers know how to be storytellers. Parents know, right?
Yeah.
Bedtime stories. And actors are just creators in theatre. They evolve from, we're an evolution of that, I think, somehow.
In that sense, I can imagine how challenging, now that we are talking about childhood, was to direct a play that you decided to tell from the perspective of a child. The other,
yeah.
And also you learn a technique that is really beautiful, and it's quite rudimentary, but it's very, at the same time, very sophisticated if you do it
was
properly.
Bloody hard, I tell you that. Yes.
Okay,
it's really hard because it's so
about
technical.
That story.
Yeah. So I wanted to tell the story about a refugee, and because I was very affected by reading all the articles about.
We are talking about what year?
The other.
What year?
What year? Sorry, 2016.
Okay.
It was the refugee crisis. 15. It started in 14, I think. Went on. I mean, it's still there, right? But it was really in all of the papers and was affecting me a lot. And I was like, I wanted to do something. I wanted to do a play about it. And then I started to think, how could I do that? And I didn't want to play Syrian. I didn't want to do a verbatim play where you use the real lives or the real words of people who have experienced trauma, and then, a play that I wanted to create something that I felt everybody anywhere could relate to. I wanted a universal story. So I basically transposed the idea of this little girl who is a refugee searching for a safe place, going from one planet to another.
Okay.
So I really created this fictional world, but all based on the stories we're hearing on the papers, right?
She was going to the blue.
Yeah.
Blue.
Oh gosh, you know it all. I don't remember. Thanks. She was
blue
from
planet,
the red yellow planet going towards the blue planet, full of hope. And she finds war on the way, obviously, and horrible things happen to her, but she sees it through the perspective of a child. So it's somehow playful, right? In her vision, she reinterprets the reality in her own way. And I wanted to be playful in the way I was telling that story, obviously, perspective of a child. So I learned to do puppetry and shadow puppetry,
which is lovely.
It's so beautiful. And I felt that in that play I was more of a technician than an actor for the first half, because it was literally like, you have a screen in front and you have all the shadow puppets behind, and I had to press this, I take this. It was like that. And the audience just sees everything smooth and slow, but I'm behind like this.
It's super hard to connect with the story when you have to pay attention to something very technical.
Yeah.
It takes you out of that space of... Yeah.
But I was, I was speaking words at the same time, absolutely, and doing this technical thing. It was almost like there was two of me.
Luckily, you didn't become bipolar after that.
No.
But that's the
fine.
risk. That's the risk of doing that. Yes, I can imagine, because sometimes just doing two different things, you feel like,
It was a lot of rehearsal, and I had a director. So all my solos, I always invite people to collaborate with me, because otherwise you go crazy.
Was that a monologue?
It was a monologue. Yeah, it was a monologue.
Another one.
Another one.
So tell me about why so many. Why monologues? Monologues are very amazing, and especially women have been outstanding in this genre. Do you think it's because we are especially good at intimate stories, intimate situations, telling stories and getting very close to your personal experience, and at the same time open to communicate that? I don't know.
I don't know. But again, if we go back to our mothers being our first storytellers, and us as mothers being a storyteller, and our daughters receiving that, and then we learn it at a young age, right? How to tell stories. But women in England just did not perform until very late. It was only male actors in Shakespearean times, for example, and suddenly women were not allowed to perform. What was that? And suddenly, you have most amazing actresses in 250 years. You have this evolution of women really being amazing storytellers and actors. And maybe there's something about the fact that we have instincts as well. I mean, everybody has instincts, obviously, but there's something about maybe women wanting to be open to their instincts, and opening that up into the acting as well.
It's also a way to do theater in an easy way and just go and do it. I mean, because you just need yourself.
Yeah.
You need to write a story. You need a place to perform and conviction. But you don't need a huge group of people telling the story with you. It's just you. I think that was also an important part of...
and the perseverance as well. I think, we give birth. We go through pain. We can do anything. You know what I mean? Yes. You can do a play by yourself. Yes, you can. And you can take lots of rejection. You can carry on. And there is a perseverance in our gender.
Did you get a lot of rejections? Do you still get rejection?
It's part of the industry to get rejection, always. And you have to really work to understand that, in yourself, that it's part of it. It's not necessarily about you. It's about how the industry works. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to do my own work. And I'm mainly busy with my own work, and all the jobs I got for the past few years have been a direct result
at the end
of people seeing my work.
It was good at the end. Sometimes rejection can be the best thing that can happen to you in order to find your voice, find your strength, and say, I'm going to do this. You don't want to do it with me, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
It's good to have a little bit of that feeling of revenge. I'm still going to do it, and you will see. Because it's necessary.
But if that's what you want to do, who is going to say it's not,
And I'm impressed, very impressed with the research you did for Ephemera.
Yeah.
I really think it's an amazing way to do community work, or to create a bridge between real life, real problems, real situations of violence with women, and transform that in something good, something that can teach, or give orientation to others, and instead of just being sorry of ourselves, transform that pain, those stories, to something useful, to teach something, to show something. And can you please tell about the research? How did the idea came, and how many people did you interview?
So Ephemera was a commission I got from King's College and People's Palace Project, owned Casa Festival at the time. And it's basically a research that was led by this professor, amazing Professor Kathy McElwain. You've probably heard of her.
I heard a whole conference and I was impressed. She's amazing.
She's phenomenal.
She was talking about you as well.
Oh, I talk about her all the time. That's what we do, me and her. And we're going to be in a conference together Thursday.
Yeah. 22 on 22nd.
Yes. You know my life.
Everything. Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, so she basically gave me her research for me to read and create a creative response out of it. And it was a lot of responsibility, right? Because this woman has been doing this for like 25 years, I think. She's one of the first people to champion the Latin American community in the academic milieu. And so I felt, okay, I really need to do something good with it. So doing the research, it was going to be a two-hander. I had this idea to actually put the actual interview of the research on stage. All the interviews we're reading there was someone like you and me now, a person interviewing and the interviewee and the interviewer. And I thought, you know what, maybe that's interesting dramaturgically to actually people see that. And so that's what I did. And instead of having several characters, I sticked to one woman called Anna, representing all the Brazilian women who were interviewed in the research.
So you mix up all the stories in her.
So I did an amalgamation of the stories into one character. And then I thought, what's the relationship that the audience is going to have to this setup? And I decided to do a meta theatrical play, which is basically the actors assume they are playing a character.
Okay.
So I decided to open up the story of the actors on stage too, in order to create a relationship with the audience. So what ended up happening is that me and my co-actress Rosie, we ended up opening up about ourselves and our experiences of abuse to the audience, as well as the research. So it's just to say it can be anyone. It's not only a story here that we're telling based on a research. Look at me, it happened to me. And it became so real, and that's created that effect that like the audience is like, oh my, this is real, and really aiming to ask them to do something. What would happen if it was the person next to you, your sister, your daughter? What would you do? So a lot of people were like in tears at the end of this show. This was a beautiful show. It was like comedy and drama in one.
I bet. And you too, I guess for you was super hard to go through all these while doing the research.
Yes.
Listening to all these stories that are, there's one that for me was really shocking, yes. The one of the lady that called the police 4 times.
Yeah.
And they never believed her, and because she wasn't able to speak the language, they thought he was telling the truth.
Oh gosh, it had so many of those stories.
Like it's just like you say, it's not possible. How can someone be so unlucky, and how can one be in a situation so unfair?
Yeah, it happens quite often. The language, it really is a barrier, and also sometimes becomes a barrier for the person who doesn't speak English and who's here to trust any authority, any figure of authority, so the police or social worker, because of sometimes they think that they will not welcome me because I don't speak the language.
Yes.
Or they will not believe
They're
me. They'll
be
believe
on
the other
side
person.
of the other person because he speaks the language.
Exactly. Oh, so many stories. It's like, so I really thought like I wanted to somehow not abandon any of the stories there. So that's why I combined them all into one character.
And you took that to Brazil.
Yes.
with your colleague.
Yeah.
How was that experience? How was after creating that here
in English?
In English with Brazilian women, right? Yeah. The testimonies were all Brazilian women.
Yeah.
And then taking that back to Holland.
It was amazing. It was just amazing because we had to adapt it a little bit so I would speak in Portuguese, and Rosie was playing the person interviewing. Anna was speaking in English, interviewing in English.
Oh, wow.
So it was quite interesting, and the audience had headphones.
Okay.
Simultaneous translation.
Good.
And we had 2 performances. One at the Favela da Maré, a slum in Rio, and in an art center, beautiful art center in the slums. and another one in Festival Feminista in Rio. So it's more like a middle class kind of festival, and the reaction was totally different.
In which way?
They were almost opposite. Like when we went to perform in the art center in the Favela da Maré, everybody afterwards came to speak to us. All the women watching came and spoke to us and thanked us so much for doing that play and telling us their stories of violence.
They felt represented.
Totally, and telling their stories of violence to us. It's giving me goosebumps to think about it. It was just like incredible. And in the Festival Feminista, it was just a play, you know.
Yeah, they were quite detached from the reality.
I mean, people reacted as well, but in a more behaved way.
Okay. And maybe
so it was interesting to see that.
That's also the critical mind sometimes doesn't allow you to embrace the feelings, no?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you feel like you need to come out with a critique, criticizing something or having an opinion.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think
maybe.
sometimes the critical mind can be an obstacle to just go and feel whatever you need to feel, especially when politics are involved.
Yeah.
Stories with
But the interesting thing is that, violence against women does not belong to one social class only.
Okay.
The stories we were telling were from all social classes, even though there was one character. And when I performed in Brighton, we had this variety of women from all over the world, like upper class British woman, Mexican cleaner, woman from Sri Lanka sharing and saying, this happened to me.
Mm.
And this is how you realize, when a play is universal, is when you touched people from everywhere in the world who are coming to see your show, any social class, anywhere in the world. And also you realize that it's good I'm doing this because we need to show it and change it.
And raise awareness.
Absolutely,
yes.
But you raise awareness to change it,
to
right?
change
to
this
challenge
reality.
it.
It actually should be shown in schools for very young girls, because that makes you aware, conscious of something. When something happened and you have a little bit of information already, and maybe this is not that right. No, I think it's good for young girls.
Especially with psychological.
To experience that kind of players.
Yeah.
Maybe it can be strong, but it can also be very, very important.
Open their eyes, especially for there's a part that talks about psychological violence, which is something that I wasn't so aware of before reading the research, for example.
Tell me about it.
Because we always think of violence just as only physical, but actually it's also psychological. Sometimes
when you read about psychological violence, then you are like, I think I've been there.
Yeah. and like,
do you think so?
A lot of women have been there.
Yes, you have been there a lot of times, and you thought it was normal. So if you thought it was normal, imagine someone that doesn't even read, or maybe didn't have opportunities to rethink her own life and perspective about things. And you made a film also out of that story. Yeah. So you reduced again the story?
Yes, I adapted it to a short film.
And that was also a project from this university?
Yes, it was.
It's amazing. They are doing a lot to support the Latin American community.
They are. They've been doing it for like a long time. So the film basically came out from the play. There was some money left from the project, and so Kathy came up to me and said, Gail, do you want to do anything with this money? Do you want to go on tour with Ephemera? And I said, you know what, let's make a film, because I feel we'll reach more people with that.
Amazing.
And we did it, and it did so well.
And also because it was a good experience to try also for you, and you like
my first short film. I've never done a film before. I'm gonna try it.
Amazing. So you were the actress and the director.
Yeah.
And did you adapt?
I adapted it. Yeah.
Which was also yours.
Yes.
Amazing. That's really, really good for an artist so young. And coming back to that about the stereotypes of the situations of abuse, these were very let's say, dramatic experiences, but also we live in a world that every day we come across micro abuses, micro experiences of all kind. And I think that the podcast you recently did for this project, this
Legal Aliens Theatre,
and
the podcast is called. Oh my god, this is
bad.
It was just last week. Things I'm not.
These things I'm not.
I feel so ashamed because it was last week. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
But I knew I was gonna have that problem because I always had it every
Things
time.
I am not. Yeah.
Things I am not.
Which is a great name, actually.
Amazing. It's amazing, super punchy. I love it. And this podcast was presenting 10 stories from 10 different women from different experiences, but all immigrants.
Yes.
And what I loved about when I read about the idea was, okay, let's not have faces, so you listen to the story.
Yeah.
I thought that was an amazing strategy because if I have your face, I immediately complete a lot of information and then I assume
you judge somehow.
I judge somehow, yeah. But if I'm listening to a story of a girl from Egypt, and I can't see her face, I just can't hear her words, which were incredibly powerful. Yeah. It is a different experience. It's an experience that I definitely recommend to have. And your story was about a Brazilian girl facing a bit of this situation of having to explain what she's not, basically. So how did you fight your own sense of censorship?
Oh, good question. Gosh, I literally wrote without censoring myself. There is a technique because that you literally write without censoring yourself.
Okay. You need to teach me that one.
I will. Oh, I learned it with this amazing British poet called Inua Elims. I think I'm saying his name right. And you basically, it was a workshop I did when I was an associate at the South Bank Center, and they asked us to write a story without censoring yourself, without thinking. So you put the pen. It's like there's a name in English. It's flow writing.
Yeah, it's like
you just
without
write.
commas.
You never stop.
Nothing.
You can, but you never take the pen out of the paper.
Oh.
So you can do the same in front of a computer. You never just keep typing.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because if you think, when you think, you stop yourself sometimes. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
And when you edit yourself, there's so much you take away, or you put some flourishments on this. Let me say it this way or this other way. Were you worried about not compromising too much your opinion or not creating stereotypes with your own tell?
Yes. So I do start with a stereotype, and then my aim was to challenge it and to break it as the story goes along. And I was worried about the fact that I was stereotyping men.
That's what I mean.
White British men.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But they do it.
Say to the camera.
You deserve it.
So I asked some white British male friends to have a read at it before recording it, and they were very encouraging of me to do that. And you know what? You cannot. There is a point when you can't talk about certain things, and you cannot change the world without taking a risk. Mm-hmm. And I decided to take that risk.
Good.
Well done. And it's quite bold, but also there is a side to it where the character realizes that the character is broken. Definitely, at the end there's a revelation, and you see that the character, the sexual encounters this character has, there is a reason behind it, and how it doesn't work. She carries something, a trauma, and she realized that the men also somehow are broken because of the way, society, because of the roles society impose on them. Mm-hmm. And it's also she feels the roles that society is imposing on her as a woman, as a Brazilian woman in particular, from the Amazon.
So somehow it's very human, because at the end of the day, it's saying we are all facing trauma for different reasons, but it's our responsibility. But it happened to all of us somehow.
Somehow it does, I think. And it's our responsibility to heal ourselves
and challenge the vision, the social
absolutely,
vision.
Absolutely. And also, I don't know if there's that in the story, but I try to understand the other as well.
Yeah, even if it feels like you are criticizing it, it's also to say, I understand that we are all part of the same game, and what we need to change is the game.
Absolutely, yes. And there is a sentence in the story that says that, maybe all these people are damaged in a way, and I think yes.
Yeah.
And how do we heal? How do we change all this? The politics of relationships,
and the games of power, the structure of
power. How do we challenge that? And I don't have the answer. I'm an artist. I expose the issue, but I would love to have the answer. But it makes me think, when I create something, how do I challenge that for myself or the people around me?
In my own life, exactly, because that's coherency. It's I have these ideas, but I also want to live up to them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just talk about this in a play and then accept in my own life things that maybe aren't what I want.
Yes, and also you can't be didactic. You cannot tell an audience what to think.
No.
Patronizing them. Patronize them. It's up to each individual to do that work, to understand it and accept if they want to.
And this uncensored podcast is going to become a play? Do you have a plan regarding that? No.
I don't have a plan for Uncensored itself, but it was the first time I was writing a comedy, let's say. Yeah. A sex comedy, I'm calling it. Don't know if there's such thing. It is, right?
It is.
And I really want to do more of it. So I started thinking of doing a TV series. So
girl.
It won't be the same character.
Amazing.
But yeah, I'm thinking about that.
And when you started writing, you were conscious about, okay, let me apply this technique to not uncensor myself. But did you know that you wanted to do a sex comedy, or it just came out as part of the dynamic?
I kind of knew, yeah. But also, I'm very heavy on structure when I write. So I really structure things. Even though I say, I wrote all of this and it was uncensored, there was a clear structure. And I filled in the structure with the words. So there was a part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. It's in 5 acts. All the stories we tell are somehow in either 3 or 5 acts, right?
It's good. It's good. I enjoy it, and I enjoy all of them. I have to say that the quality of the project is it's really good. It's really good. And I especially like that thing of not having a face and still listening to a story that makes you imagine a face. You want to have a face, but you don't have it. So it challenges you.
Yeah.
It challenges your own stereotypes, your own the way you see the world.
Yeah, and especially in a society that's so visual, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get visual information all the time to us. Through adverts, through on the street, everything is visual. Films, you stop and listen.
Yeah,
it's not our first choice, right?
And listening is open-minded. It's an amazing experience,
and it's more personal somehow.
Much more intimate.
Yeah,
much more. When you listen to a book, it's not the same that watching a film about the book. It's actually very connected with the act of
the
reading.
Essence of what the writer wanted to say. Yeah.
Because somehow, I don't know, it's more spiritual. Just listening, it's quite spiritual, because when we want to have an insight of life or whatever, what we said, we ask for. I would like to have an answer. You listen to the answer.
Yeah.
It's kind of that kind of connection with with the art is very spiritual in my way of seeing it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why music is so
it's so moving
healing
and so
and
universal
moving,
and so easy to like or dislike, right?
Yeah.
Because it connects with you in a God level, from a God level.
Absolutely.
And I think I'm interested to know, because some of your stories or dramas, you will tell me, were in an anthology called Un Nuevo Sol.
Yes.
Was that in Spanish? Did you write that in Spanish?
No.
Was it published in Spanish?
English. No, it's all in English. I think some of them are in both languages. Because it's an anthology, so there are several writers in it. I have one for you.
Oh, really?
Can I?
Oh my God!
Yes,
really?
I brought one for you.
That's amazing. I wasn't expecting
I'll give it to you
that.
now.
Great.
So I brought 2 things for you, actually.
It's very beautiful, the cover. Thank
This
you.
Is a Soul.
British Latinx writers, and was edited by Natalie Tatler and Nee Akwe Parks.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So yeah, there you go. So Natalie is Argentinian, and Nee is the actual editor of the publisher
of the book.
It's
I'm
really
thankful.
Beautiful. The writers are amazing on it. I'm really stoked to be part of it.
How many stories were included of you?
Oh, of me, just one. So there you go. It's the other. Just one. Mm-hmm. And but it's quite long because it's the extract from the other, from a play. So
you wrote
it's a few pages.
A bit as poetry.
Yes. Yeah, but also because this is a poetry collection, we kind of rearranged the words to look as such.
Wow.
But it's poetic language, the other, completely. It's not like your usual play.
And in the future, tell me about your plans, apart from this talk you're going to have with Kathy.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's going to be in an academic environment. Yeah. Everyone listening to what you have to say about your work. That's beautiful. That's amazing.
We do
well
that
done.
Sometimes, Kathy and I.
Okay. So the students listen to all the experiences you have made until now?
I think it's about the collaborations we've had. So her research and the artistic outcomes I created out of it. And there will be lots of academics as well, and other researchers as part of a round table. I have to prepare. I haven't prepared yet, but yes, I should.
You are fine. You just have to talk about what you know best, which is your work. Yeah. And what else are you working on at the moment?
So I am doing several projects at the moment. Like every freelance person is like juggling so many different projects. I am co-writing for a company called Limbic Theatre, and I co-write with my partner Ben Samuels, and we just got a commission from the Lorry Manchester, which is quite a good thing, a big deal for us. There were like 200 people who applied for it. And us and I think 3 others got it.
Oh, wow.
So it was really, really good to get it.
Well
and
done.
This is going to be like an audio story, but in an immersive experience. So it's for people to experience at home and in different rooms of their house. And we're going to write a story for people to travel through their house.
Wow, amazing.
Really cool.
And with that company, Limbic, you did with them an amazing play. I love that play. I loved what I saw. It's like a story, a bit futuristic, science fiction.
Absolutely, yeah.
Somehow.
It's a dystopian. It's like a dystopian. In a dystopian future for women who are garden girls in this upper class British family garden, and then they just stay there ornaments. And they are a bit robotic kind of people. It's just like the beautiful women to look at. It was a bit dystopian, totally. We went to Edinburgh with it.
It was for women from different parts of the world, which was very interesting because also, apart from being ornaments, which is already horrible. And I think somehow the story was very successful at being quite intimate with the stories of these four girls,
Yeah.
but at the same time it looks really sensational.
It is. We were
in-
like in massive platforms, big dresses, so we couldn't really move. But there were moments when we did move to do like movement sequences or sing in beautiful traditional songs. So they had like uptime when they were working in those dresses and down when they were like eating or sleeping.
okay.
Yeah. And talking about their lives, but inside the dresses they were like little tents.
But one of the aims of that company is to do things involving technologies,
yeah,
new technologies.
So that project was not. We didn't really have technology in it. We had shadow puppetry, But after the forecast, then Limbic started developing work with artificial intelligence and new technologies. Voice Thief, which we just got the commission for, is where we're going to develop a new app basically just for the project. So we'll really be hopefully creating something that's new technologically. So there are several. It's not only artists. So there's me and Ben who are doing the artistic side, but we also have a creative technologist. We have a specialist in sound. So we work with spatial sound. It's amazing. It's really it's new for me, but it's so exciting.
Very collaborative in that sense of different disciplines coming together, finding a space to coexist. Amazing. Yes. And are you planning to go back to Brazil anytime soon?
Oh, I really want to. Hopefully December.
Do you miss Brazil? What's your relationship with Brazil?
It's complex. It's a love and hate relationship, I think, as many people who migrated, especially now, right, with what's happening there politically. It's really hard to follow the news. Yeah. But I love. I mean, it's such a beautiful place, and I miss my family, of course, my parents, but also all my extended family there, and I miss the beauty of it, like of nature, and how warm people are, and there's no place like
there's no place like home.
But
home, you make home everywhere you go.
Yeah,
and I would like to ask you to finish this episode because we are in time. Normally Brazilians in Brazil, my personal experience was that they weren't thinking about themselves really as South Americans. They were thinking about themselves as Brazilians. And I think the language have a important part in this. But I feel like you are such a part of the Latin American community in London that every time you talk or every time you have an interview or something, you talk as a South American, as a Latin American. True. I love that. Do you think it has changed since you live in London? It's part of your experience as immigrant?
Yes, it is. When I first moved to London, I don't think I would define myself as Latin American. I was much younger as well then. But I understood by being here and making friends from other Latin American countries that actually we have similar experiences. I think that's what unifies us as a continent and as Latin America as well. We have a similar experience of colonialism. We have similar heritage. We connect the same ways with nature and with music. Even though we are all different, there is something that makes us have this bond, but indeed, it happened here,
and we face the same problems here somehow.
We do.
So, well, I love to know now that you feel so part of a Latin American community, because I think we all need each other to keep building this. And do you still feel like an immigrant? Do you think that's going to be forever a feeling in you?
I think it will be forever a feeling in me of somehow being a little bit not belonging completely to anywhere. Because at starters in Brazil, I was half French, you know. So I was already not belonging somehow.
Completely.
And then I came here, and then again, I'm not British. So there's and maybe that's why I'm so like involved in the rights for migrants and in telling stories of people who are not from here.
After all, it's good to be an outsider. I think
Yeah.
it's good. I think it's good. I welcome the experience. And
Hey!
thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm really pleased and honored because I know how busy you are. And I really wanted to have this conversation with you. It's been an amazing pleasure to research your life, your career, all you have done, and I'm very proud as South American.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We finally did it. We
We
tried
finally
for
did it.
months.
And
Here
thank
we
you,
are
all
now.
of you, for staying there with us. Big kiss. Thank you so much for staying with us this far. I hope you enjoyed that. And if that's the case, I would like to suggest you to enjoy the rest of our content. Also, if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you can get notifications every time we share a new episode with all of you.